7. According to the National Education Association, 7 out of every 10 high school students currently suffer from anxiety and depression today. For context, nearly 50 years ago, depression was considered a rare condition, according to the United States Library of Medicine. In a 2009 study conducted by the American Psychological Association, nearly 45% of high school students were found to be stressed out by school pressures. That is nearly half of all students in the nation, and that number will climb unless we do something about it. Back in February of 2020, I was suffering from severe anxiety and depression, insomnia, and disordered eating. I was also a 4.0 student who was involved in more extracurriculars than you could count and had a pretty stable life. Yet I was still contemplating taking my own. I know that my story is not an anomaly for high school students these days. I know that millions of teenagers are having these feelings and mental health issues at this very moment. I know that many have died due to the pressures placed upon them by society. Though no one knows for sure, as every case is different, there are at least 3 suspected significant factors for a lack of mental health in teenagers. One that is not necessarily mentioned as often as it should be is what is known as peer competition. Peer competition is the notion that kids who have grown up together are now being forced to compete against each other. Who will get the big scholarship from the school, who will get a spot at a certain university, or who will make varsity? Now, all these questions probably seem really silly, but take a step back and realize that for over a decade, we teach these children that when it comes to the 16 to 18-year range, they need to make the major decisions on what they want to do for the rest of their lives. A scholarship in this case could mean money to attend a better university or to not be in crippling debt for the rest of your life. A varsity position could be a one-way ticket to a full ride, and a spot at a certain university could be the head start to your career. We teach these adolescents that in the most hormonal, drama-filled, and hectic time of their lives, they need to make the major decisions on what they want to do for the rest of it. The real question is, who wouldn't be stressed? Now, on a more scientific side of things, the consistent lack of sleep that teenagers are getting is a major factor to a lack of mental health. The average high school in America starts at 7:59 a.m., which doesn't include before-school activities or what you might call a zero period. And the American Sleep Association has routinely found that mental health disorders like anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder have been linked to poor sleep and sleep deprivation in teenagers, which in turn all increase the risk of suicide. So if we do all the math involving commute times, getting ready, etc., we see that teenagers are only getting about 6 hours of sleep a night, which isn't enough for a full-grown adult, let alone an adolescent. My third and final topic for you today is relationships. Yes, I know that's very broad, but when someone thinks of high school, they typically think of the American high school dream, with lots of friends, a significant other, and loving parents. But that's not always the case. In my opinion, it's pretty easy to make friends in high school, as everyone is essentially suffering together. But keeping those relationships is the tricky part. The amount of gossip, drama, stress, and peer pressure is insanely toxic. For instance, the best friends you thought you had last month just joined a new sports team, so they don't have time for you anymore. And your girlfriend just broke up with you over the text message because it's not you, it's her. And sure, your parents are getting a divorce, but please continue working on that 10-page essay due tomorrow at 8 a.m. Overall, we often see students harmed by the pressures they face in day-to-day society. It seems as though one more extracurricular, one more hour in the day, or even one more friend can allow the means to the end. Teenagers who in the greatest developmental period of their lives are forcing these burdens on their backs in order to live up to their parents' expectations, to this American ideal, or even to their own expectations. What kind of a society are we to ask children to nearly kill themselves in order to fit our mold of the average American teenager? Now, I'm not only here to preach about my side of things or to talk about how detrimental our society can be to children. I'm here to advise. I'm here to be a voice to those who are overwhelmed, stuck in the shadows, clinging onto the idea of the perfect student. So to students, let me tell you, you are worthy of sleep without stress. You are deserving of good grades without 3 or more hours of homework a night. You are worthy of love and acceptance by society, no matter how your lifestyle looks. To parents, your child is suffering. Your child is hurting, and the sad fact of the matter is you may realize this, you may recognize this, yet you turn a blind eye because they're just hard workers, and they boost your Facebook page with all their accomplishments. On the other hand, you could see absolutely nothing wrong with your child. Maybe they hide the long nights, the addictions, and the toxic relationships from you. But it's never too late to have these open discussions about mental health in your household and to work to address the issues our teenagers are facing. And finally, to schools around the nation, address this issue. Sure, Rome wasn't built in a day, but every day they were laying bricks. Every day is an opportunity to offer more mental and physical health resources, to push back start times, to limit the amount of homework loads teachers can place upon students. Every day is an opportunity to address the issues our teenagers are facing. These days, students are facing the pinnacle of mental health disorders in all of history. We see this on our social media feeds, day after day, another child lost to their own mind. This is a crisis. Now is the time to recognize these issues and to act. Work in your communities, your local government, your school board, and even your own household to alleviate the pressures we all collectively place upon teenagers. Work to be more accepting of students doing their best instead of demanding the most. Thank you.